Let's bring in Nader Hashemi. He's the director of the Center for Middle East Studies at the University of Tehran. He's joining us live via Skype. Thanks very much for speaking to us on Al Jazeera. We've heard from the Ukrainian president and the Canadian prime minister just a few moments ago demanding accountability, demanding responsibility, saying the admission is an important first step. How much pressure does all of this put on Tehran and the government there?
Well, it's very important that the international pressure continue. I would argue that without that international pressure, Iran would not have admitted responsibility for the shooting down of that aircraft. So these are very dark and difficult days for the Islamic Republic, because not only are they facing international pressure for accountability and full disclosure, but internally they're also facing a lot of public anger, not only over the shooting down of the jet, but really over economic mismanagement, political repression, lack of openness. There's a lot of internal problems. So I think the senior leaders of the Islamic Republic are being squeezed from both sides.
Right. And when you look at the sort of the domestic issue and the protests that have now gone on as a result of the downing of that plane, how do you see them playing out?
Well, I think this is a disaster for the leaders of the Islamic Republic, because they were riding high after the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, in the sense that they were able to change the narrative in Iran away from the legacy of the November protests, the demands for democracy, political accountability, and human rights. They were able to whip up this nationalist fervor revolving around the themes of nationalism and anti-imperialism. And this was a gift from God for them. It was a way of shifting attention away from their own domestic failures. Now the pendulum has swung in the opposite direction, where now people are angry, they're demanding accountability. The reputation of the Revolutionary Guard forces has now sunk to an all-time low, when just a couple of days ago, the regime was very confident that they could elevate people like Qasem Soleimani and have them presented as a role model for Iranians to emulate. So this is a disaster for the leaders of the Islamic Republic. I think they're in a deep state of shock and paranoia over what to do next. And we just have to wait and see what happens in the coming days and weeks.
To what extent do you think, or do you agree, rather, with Iranian officials when they say that the shooting down occurred in the midst of hostilities with the U.S.? And this, in fact, was something that Justin Trudeau just insinuated in his press conference, where he was asked about this particular issue, and he did say that tension did contribute to the plane tragedy.
Well, obviously they did. I think objectively, the policies of Donald Trump bringing the region to the brink of war is a huge factor. But let's be crystal clear. The responsibility for shooting down that jet, the responsibility for keeping that airport opened when it should have been closed, lies with the senior leadership in the Islamic Republic of Iran, first and foremost. We can then have a conversation about second and third order responsibility. And I think that's where Donald Trump and U.S. policy comes in to the equation. So I would completely agree on the second and third order responsibility. But fundamentally, this is something that the Islamic Republic has to own. They made the decision to keep that airport open, and so they have to own this.
All right, we'll leave it there. Nader Hashemi, thank you for joining us.
Thanks much.